mining technique called fracking after a blowout in a Pennsylvania well spilled thousands of gallons of toxic fluid into a local waterway. It's not the first time the environmental impact of fracking has been questioned. In Arkansas, some geologists think the disposal of wastewater from fracking may be leading to an incredible uptake in earthquakes, more than 1,100 since September. Here's Chris Bury.
At this Arkansas school, anger is in the air. The residents gathered here are worried.
How would we know
about the gas wells sprouting up around them?
I just know my house started shaking.
And whether drilling is to blame for the earth literally moving under their feet.
The house shook, the cat ended on top of my chest, all the dogs started barking and going on.
What's happening? Earthquakes. More than 1,100 since September. Most of them tiny, 2 or 3 on the Richter scale, but some around 4, California-sized. Teachers at this school attest to that.
There's no foundation. You're just shaking, and you can't go anywhere because everywhere's shaking.
That scared me the most was in the middle of doing a lesson with my students and the earth shaking and realizing it was an earthquake.
The shaking here is the newest development in the raging national argument about drilling for natural gas.
What's happening? How are they happening? Why are they happening? We know that they're happening.
Josh Fox, a filmmaker, is here showing his Oscar-nominated documentary, Gasland.
I'd love to find somebody to interview at Halliburton.
His film is critical of a drilling method called hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. Fluid is injected into rock, breaking it to release natural gas. The film focuses on fears about the water supply.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
Nightline brought Fox to Arkansas because of all the new questions here about drilling and earthquakes. The voices here, he says, are like canaries in a coal mine.
People are your first level of scientific data. You have to trust what the people are saying on the ground as your first level in any investigation.
In the gentle hills of the Arkansas River Valley, the treasured serenity has been shattered.
The ground just rolls. It just rolls.
For Dirk to Turk and his neighbors, the shaking began last summer.
And it's like a loud thunderclap, and the house shakes at the exact same time.
This that has split and cracked here and the sheetrock and
it seems like your whole house has been separated.
Yes, my whole house is kind of separated. That's a good way to put it.
Susan Fry showed us the cracked walls in her home.
This house was swaying. You felt like you were on a roller coaster, or going down a hill, or sitting on a rowboat in the middle of the ocean with somebody rocking the boat.
The shaking got so frequent she installed a plumb line to keep track, posting the results on YouTube.
4:54 p.m., and we've got some really big swaying going on now.
There's about 1,050 earthquakes.
Arkansas geologist Scott Osbrooks is a lead detective on the case.
And so these dots represent earthquakes. More than 1,000 earthquakes
that have occurred
just since lesson.
Yes, sir. Just since September.
The earthquakes are rattling the countryside in what's known as the Fayetteville Shale. Just since 2005, more than 3,000 gas wells have been drilled here, bringing thousands of jobs and billions in revenue to a dirt-poor place. But at what cost?
See, the drilling is continuing to produce more and more waste.
Josh Fox is exploring a theory held by many residents that the tremors can be traced to how wastewater from thousands of fracking wells is handled.
You see that enormous pit of wastewater there?
Right.
That's wastewater coming up out of the well. This is what they're injecting back down into the ground.
The wastewater, millions of gallons, is trucked to disposal sites like this. They inject the equivalent of a 30-acre lake weighing 1 billion pounds deep into the earth. But the gas companies insist no scientific evidence links the injection wells to earthquakes, and that some quakes were recorded in the region before the wells were drilled.
I've never been so scared in my life.
But nothing like this.
It just rattled the foundation.
In February, a 4.7 shook the earth all the way to Memphis, the biggest quake here in 35 years.
And all of a sudden, the whole bed It's like that. The whole house, you just feel everything going.
What's in the seismometer?
Geologists hunting clues to the mystery are installing seismic monitors across the region.
Kind of like earthquake chasing.
Now they're getting real-time data from state parks to backyards. The quakes are taking place along a newly discovered fault line, 7.5 miles long.
If that was to rupture all at one time, then you could generate theoretically up to a magnitude 5.7 to a 6.0.
5.7 to 6.0, which is really big.
Which is damaging, could potentially be a very damaging earthquake.
In March, only days after that 4.7 earthquake, energy companies under pressure from state regulators shut down 2 injection wells closest to the fault line, including this one, then owned by Chesapeake Energy.
We do not agree with the conclusions. We believe there's a lot of natural seismicity in this area, and there's a lot more subsurface data and facts and science that needs to be brought to bear.
We have to side with that public safety concern and address that in a way that maybe science does not totally support. If there's a tie, you have to come down on the side of the residents. Yes, we think that public safety has to rule the day in this particular case.
Since the 2 injection wells were shut down, the earthquakes have not stopped altogether, but they have tapered off dramatically.
We saw a 50% reduction in the number of earthquakes.
50% reduction.
50% reduction in
Pretty dramatic.
Pretty dramatic.
Arkansas has now put a temporary halt on any new disposal wells, and for some here, the evidence is piling up. Are you convinced that this drilling is leading to the earthquakes?
Yes, I am. I am 100% totally convinced.
Coincidence or not, Arkansas regulators may decide soon whether to allow the 2 injection wells to operate again, leaving residents wondering if peace will ever return to their valley. I'm Chris Bury for Nightline in Guy, Arkansas.
Thanks to Chris for that important report. Many questions to be answered. Just as